This is my SAVI
And this
story.
is my SAVI story.
This is my SAVI story.
Presented by Seven Figure Flipping.
My takeaway from my final briefings is that I have a lot of work to do. It was really great information, but it felt extremely overwhelming, and it felt like it was very, pushed into a short time period. So I felt like I didn't have a second to kind of grapple what had just happened or really wrap my mind around, okay, great, I have all of this information, but then the question was, now what? Like, what is the first step? And so my main takeaway is I'm really confused, and I'm hoping that there's kind of a follow-up to this in terms of like the steps, if you will. You know, being in the military, you're obviously so used to structure and a layout in terms of, hey, this is what you're supposed to be doing. And I felt like there was like, hey, here's all this great information, but then there was no what you're supposed to be doing component that was added to it.
I guess my takeaway, at least from the conversation that I had, the last conversation I had with my captain was that, you know, there are a lot of haters in life, right? And I say this because, right, everyone knew what I was doing while I was transitioning out, right? They knew I had started this business. They knew I was passionate about real estate. They knew I'd helped out a lot of people in the command. But some of it wasn't received as well, right? Because you get that stigma when you're in real estate as being a slumlord, because owning properties makes you a slumlord for some reason, right? Yeah. And because of that, because the military is primary conservative mindset, I had to sit down with my CEO that's going to stick with me probably for the rest of my life. And he told me, he's like, listen, there are a lot of haters out there, right? There are a lot of people that get so stagnant in their thinking because of how things have always been done. But something that has really impressed me about you, son, is that you don't stick with the status quo, right? You continue to push and you continue to ground break on a lot of different things. And you're going to go out there and you're going to impact a lot of people's lives. The Navy might not have been for you, but something out there is. And I think what you're doing now, you found a really good passion for, and you're going to change a lot of people's lives. And that actually meant a lot to me, because I hadn't really had anyone speak that kind of blessing into my life at the time. So that was a perfect time for me to hear it. And I'm sorry I'm getting a little emotional from all the the comments that I've gotten from some of my students, my coaching students, and the people that I've inspired on my podcast. It's so true. And so it's really cool to see and think about that now, and how everything's kind of gone full circle. So my transition definitely was the right move to make. And that final talk I had with my CEO inspired me. So, sir, if you're listening out there, thank you so much for that talk, man, because that definitely put me in the right mindset to move forward and do what I needed to do.
Some of my takeaways from my final briefings were just being ready for the next stage of your life, pretty much. It's very difficult for veterans trying to transition now, whether retiring or, feel they've fulfilled their commitment to the military. It's not only do you have to choose a new career path, but some of us are still working. I think during that time where we were training 600 students for that specialty training, I was still in the process of, getting out of the military. So you still had to go to briefings. You still had to go to appointments and those type of things. And I can always remember, my boss, the chief of training, he was a retired senior master sergeant. He'd call me Jace. And he's like, Jace, I just need you for this today. Can you do it? And I was like, sure, boss, I'll be there. I'll kind of rearrange my schedule to, do what I needed to do, but also be there for training. So I think, there's a similar across the board. And, you still have a job to do and, do all these other things on top of trying to figure out what you're trying to do next. So, it was definitely a challenge, and having those briefings kind of gave me a sight picture and direction of where I needed to go. A lot of my focus, due to my preparation, was just on VA claims. That's a big part of what you'll experience, because it's just a totally different animal. I know the VA does their best to kind of give you a general oversight of how the process works and, who you need to talk to. These are your resources, but it went in so much depth that I felt lost. And I felt like there was a huge oversight. And that's why I was lucky to have Adrian and SAVI Vets kind of guide me through that process and show me those intricate details that really mean and impact your life, especially when you're trying to, do the right thing and make sure that your claim is accurate as possible. I remember going into the VA office and waiting 3 hours just to see a representative. And by the time I got to the representative, I didn't have any of the right paperwork, as far as forms, medical history, and, being myself. And I guess my ego got in the way. I felt I had like arms and legs and I could still work. I could still do things, but you really lose sight of the fact that some of these things in your medical history are going to affect you long term. And when you really think about it and put it in perspective, I had to swallow my pride and say, hey, you know what? I just need to list these disabilities and know that it doesn't define me. It's just, painting an accurate picture for, what's going to happen to me in the future.
I would say my takeaway was that I felt like I was getting out at the right time. I was in long enough to make a meaningful impact to the front line sailors. It was instructor duty, so I got a chance to teach sailors, that were brand new to the Navy. So I felt like that was a natural progression to start transitioning out. I really couldn't see myself doing much after that tour and what I had done leading up to. So I think personally, I was ready to start something new, not wearing the uniform, and really providing an opportunity for somebody else that's coming up throughout the ranks. That was really where I was with it.
No, it was kind of hard. I mean, there was a lot, right? Especially because my transition was kind of done in 3 months. It was a fire hose of information for me. I think the TAPS class, the TGPS class that I went to was really good. It had a lot of information. I think that a 2-week course would have been a little bit, better and easier to digest. But I understand the reason why they want to compact into that week is because there's a lot of stuff going on, and sometimes it's really hard to take, people away from command for that long, for a whole week. So, but a lot of good information. I definitely didn't understand everything.